Hello everybody, my name's Kevin May. I'm the editor and co-founder of Tnooz.com. I'm in London this afternoon bringing this ITB and Tnews webinar for you, where we're looking at tackling the subject of hotels and mobile, what's next. So this is one of many webinars that Tnews has carried out. We've done quite a few this year already, and we have plans for many more over the coming months towards and into the end of the year. So the reason behind this webinar we think is actually quite interesting. So we've talked a lot about mobile and distribution over the last couple of months, but hotels and mobile, I mean, it's a really interesting and dynamic part of what's happening in the hospitality space. I mean, certainly until relatively recently, travellers had, I suppose you could say, limited options to how they use their phones for searching, shopping, buying and managing their journeys. But now the phrase that we like to use often is this always connected traveller, and that's both leisure and business travellers. They actually expect some level of increasing control and planning over their travel experience, especially when it comes to how they relate to hotels. So what we wanted to do in this 60-minute webinar is look at how hotel operators can use mobile technology, give some kind of like context as to what's happening generally in mobile and travel, and how they can go about things like merchandising their services, and indeed what is next, some of the slightly cooler things that are coming around the corner. So as I said, we're producing this webinar in conjunction with ITB Academy, good friends of ours at ITB in Berlin and ITB Asia, and we also have a star-studded, I am allowed to say that, star-studded panel for you this afternoon. And also joining me is my co-founder at Tnews, is Jean Quinn, who acts as our kind of glamorous producer and also will be joining me for the Q&A at the end. So what we actually do in these sessions is we record the entire thing. So those of you that may have to jump off halfway through or have other things that you need to get on with, the video of the entire webinar will be up on tnews.com via YouTube, usually within the next 12 to 24 hours. So look out for that, and all the slides will be hosted there as well on the same post. So next slide, please, Jean. It's my pleasure, though, to introduce David Roots, who's the head of ITB Berlin, who's collaborated with us on this. And David would just really like to say hello to everybody. And hello from me, David. Welcome, and you're calling in from Berlin this afternoon. You'd like to say a few words?
Hi, Kevin. Right. This is Berlin calling, and welcome everyone to the first ITB Academy webinar that we co-produced with our partner Tnews. We're very happy, I must say, to be here today because travel technology and mobile services are one of our hot topics during ITB Berlin. Now with the ITB Academy, which is a relatively new product, we seek to offer our exhibitors and visitors more insights into the different segments of the travel industry, as for example today into mobile travel services for the hospitality industry. But before going on with hotels and mobile, I'd like to let you know that our e-travel world during ITB Berlin 2012 in March past has been a great success. For those of you who have not been able to attend, allow me to give you 2 or 3 ideas about what it was. The e-travel world and our ITB Berlin convention offer a wide range of events of particular interest to mobile and Web 2.0 experts, journalists, bloggers, tourism experts, travel managers, and so on. So the segment travel technology has never been bigger represented than at ITB past. We've had 4 halls with 236 exhibitors, renowned companies, and also young startups presented their technical innovations. So if you're interested to see or select the presentations of speakers from our eTravel World 2012, please write us an email and look up the website itb-berlin.com. In addition, take advantage of our book, The Mobile Travel App Guide, our new edition 2012, powered by ITB. ITB is a unique information source for you that provides an overview of mobile apps in the travel industry. The app expert Evolution created 25 categories relating to the travel industry and analyzed more than 120 apps in the travel sector. So all those who could not get a copy of the Mobile Travel App Guide, order it through an online dealer whose name I don't want to mention here in order not to do PR. But well, I hope I'll see you all at ITB Berlin 2030 next March, or even in Singapore for ITB Asia in October this year as an exhibitor or trade visitor as one of our guests. Now, thank you, Kevin, and have an inspiring webinar, everyone.
Okay, thank you, David, and well done on saying Berlin calling. It reminded me of the Eurovision contest just 10 days ago. And you're absolutely right. I did see a copy of that handbook when I was in Berlin this year, and it is probably the de facto guide to travel apps that are out there at the moment. If you can get hold of a copy, I strongly recommend it, and we'll make sure that we include that link when we get to the post tomorrow. So, to introduce our panelists, first up will be Jeroen van Velzen, who's the CEO of Sound of Data. Jeroen is in Amsterdam today. Second will be Suzie Wotton, who's VP of Marketing at Red Carnation Hotels. She's with me, not physically, but she is in London today, and also Josiah Mackenzie, who is one of our writers on TNews, but he also has a day job, which is Director of Business Development at ReviewPro. So welcome to the panelists. As always, we like to intersperse the webinar with various polls, just so we can gauge some kind of reaction as to how everybody is with certain strategies and things like that. So it's very simple. The poll function will appear up on your screen, and all you do is click the screen to the appropriate answer. So to give you a little tester, here is the first poll. Jean, fire away. So very simple one. I'm sure most of you can answer this. Where are you located? So your first option there is UK, EMEA. The second option is US and North America. Third option, Central South America and Caribbean. And the fourth option is Asia Pacific. So if you'd like to quickly cast your votes there. And then just throw out the results. So just over half of you, US and North America. Just over 4 in 10 are from the UK or Europe, Middle East and Africa. Just 4% from Central, South American, Caribbean, and not surprisingly, because it is almost the middle of the night in Asia Pacific, just 1% of you. So thank you very much for that. Secondly, we have a section at the end for questions and answers, which everybody is welcome to send in questions to quiz our panel, challenge them on something they may have heard, or just take the conversation on a little bit. The easiest way to do that is by simply using the question panel, which is on the right-hand side of your module of the screen you're using. The questions will come through to me. I'll get them all together, and we'll get to them at the Q&A. So please make sure you're sending lots of questions. Jean and I always have hundreds, but surely you don't want to listen to our voices. You want to hear some of the other questions that the people are listening to. So just to set the scene then, here is the first of the serious polls. Jean, if you'd just like to throw the poll up there for everybody. So how important is mobile as part of your overall digital strategy? Option 1, top priority. Option 2, an equal part of the overall mix. Or the last option, not as important as other initiatives. And if you'd just like to select one of those, it's good to see most of you are voting there. That's great. And then I think, Jean, if you can throw up the results now, that would be great. So exactly half of you, 50%, say it is an equal part of the overall mix. So one presumes that's alongside digital marketing and web design and those kind of things. Almost a third of you say it is a top priority, which is encouraging for some of the panelists here today, certainly Jeroen, but also those listening and trying to understand a little bit more about how seriously the industry is taking this. Just 17% of you are saying it is not as important as other initiatives. So thanks ever so much, Jean. If you'd like to advance to the next slide. So to introduce our first panelist, as I said, it's Jeroen van Velzen. He's the CEO of Sound of Data. He's based in the Netherlands. I've heard him speak before. He's a great guy and he's a good presenter, which is why we've asked him to come along today. And he's going to give us a kind of a broader overview of the mobile and the travel industry before we dive in specifically into hotels. Jeroen, over to you. Your 10 minutes or so is up now. Go for it.
Okay, thank you very much, Kevin. Well, obviously the challenge will be to get the 70% also into the top notch, to get them into the top priority. So that will be the target for today. If you can move on to the next slide, Jean, and that explains some more about our company. We're a relative small company in terms of people, We're focused is dedicated towards mobile travel solutions on one end, and on the other hand we have customer care solutions that cater for other channels as mobile as well, but they're all catered towards the phone. So we're also handling a lot of customer care automation for airlines and other retail organizations. But our primary focus is to build mobile travel solutions. And currently the primary product is monitoring passengers while they are traveling. And as per today, we do an average of about 25,000 travelers per day that are monitored by our systems, and we monitor their complete trip. So from going home to a destination and from the destination going home again. And we use mobile as a primary communication method for the traveler. We do so for many companies across the industry. If you can move to the next slide, Gene. We depicted some logos just to explain that it is actually across the value chain. So there are airports in there, like airlines, online travel agencies, travel management companies, GDS system providers, and actually tour grids as well. So that's sort of a short overview of our company, but that's not why you're here, because you're here to listen to why mobile actually should be a top priority within your digital strategy. Now, the advent of mobile is actually the first reason to go there would probably be the business case, and the business case is in most cases would be the commerce part. So how can we sell using this new medium? And obviously we can show you many of these graphs, but they will all depict the same trend, that it's growing exponentially, and that makes a lot of sense. Mobile is actually becoming, for many parts of the world, the only way to go online. So if you take a look at the next slide, it will show you that especially on those parts of the world that are sort of developing, they make a leap towards mobile only. So the only way they can get online is using the mobile internet. Now, and if you look at the travel industry at large, you're looking at targeting global travelers. So if you are looking at your digital strategy and you think you can leave those customers out, you will probably leave a lot of money on the table. And it's also interesting to see that even from a Western point of view, looking at the US and the UK, almost a quarter of the online presence is even primarily accessed through mobile. So this is a big thing, and it actually makes a lot of sense that this number is only increasing. So also on the next slide, the Mary Meeker was, I think it was last week that she did her sort of quarterly view on the advent of internet and mobile and what's going on in the digital world, and she used this slide to explain how fast this is growing, and also to look at it from, say, the growing parts of the world and how fast that is growing. And actually today there was another number out there by Ericsson, and Ericsson explained that by 2017, 86% of the world will be covered by 3G, and meaning not only covered but actually being used by the world population. So by 2017, 85% of the world population has access to the mobile internet, which is a really big thing, and it will probably be more than there are fixed internet connections. So this is just proving the case how fast it is going, and and how big it is and how big it's going to be, especially if you take a look at these really large countries like Brazil, India, China that are coming online really fast. So we're talking big numbers here. If we move then to the next slide, if we are to translate this towards travel and say the behavior of the travelers and what are they using it for? Well, obviously everybody is looking for their destination stuff, looking for flights, looking for hotels. So the Google UK number that got out, I believe it was on i4Travel, that 21% of all of travel searches is already mobile. so that's quite significant. There was also some really interesting numbers coming from Orbitz and the eBookers OTA numbers that where everybody's looking at, okay, so are these mobile customers, are they actually new customers, or are they just my existing customers using another channel? And what eBookers showed, that was 60% of their mobile buyers are new customers. So those were customers that have never bought with eBookers online. So just by their mobile presence, they're creating a new customer base, which actually makes a lot of sense from a retail perspective as well. You know, opening a new shop or opening a new channel creates additional revenue. Obviously, you would cannibalize on, and it's not cannibalizing, you're just shifting revenue. So 40% of the revenue is shifted from one channel to the others, but you always gain. There's no loss in adding a new channel. There's no loss in adding a new shop. And then on the other hand, you also have a lot of stuff about, you know, should we go app or web? I think we'll touch it definitely in the discussion. But what's funny to know is that the eBookers found out that the app buyers are twice as loyal as the mobile web buyers. So the app user is returning twice as much as the mobile web user. And then just to throw another number at you is that more than half of customer is interested in using the mobile to book their hotel, which obviously makes a lot of sense as well. Next slide, please, Gene. Now, what's funny is, and you also hear it in my numbers, well, I wouldn't call it spasm, but there's a tendency within the industry to automatically focus towards distribution, and that also makes a lot of sense from a commerce point of view. I think it's not a question of, for mobile, are we going to distribute all of this inventory over mobile? It's only the question when everything can and will be distributed over mobile. So it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Please, next slide, Gene. And just to depict that, we have been involved in quite a large project with Amadeus, and we have mobilized about 70% of the GDS inventory already. So we're looking at flights and hotels, and we're moving into trains and cars for the rest of this year. But so all of this GDS content is being mobilized already, and this can be branded towards any travel agency. So any agency or provider that is connected to the GDS systems can have this off the shelf branded in towards their own lines, just off the shelf. So it's like a product. You can do a paint job, or you can brand it in your own thing. So meaning any agent can have its own mobile offering out there at a very limited expense. So this will definitely drive innovation forward, and also the adoption of mobile forward. So again, looking at distribution, this will be fixed. It's not an if, it's only a when. Next slide, please, Gene. That also accounts for the OTA stuff, and the OTAs are hitting this quite hard at the moment, especially also in those markets where the internet, the mobile internet only is moving so fast. Because within the really competitive OTA environment, mobile is actually a differentiator right now. So if you can grab a fairly large market share in the beginning, that makes a lot of sense. So the OTAs are putting a lot of weight in getting a mobile presence. So if everybody is going to distribute their stuff over mobile, everybody's joining the Navy. So who will be the pirates then? And to quote the master himself, do you want to be in the Navy, or do you want to be a pirate? And it's, you know, it's not, there's no judgment in you know, sailing with the Navy. But let's have a look at those pirates. So who are these pirates, and how could you be a pirate? Well, there's actually a funny one in terms of a distribution pirate. The Hotel Tonight, I believe yesterday they got a whopping $23.5 million funding, which is quite a big thing. And the thing they did was actually pirating the distribution channel again. So by taking a really good look at the trends towards, you know, the shortening booking window that on mobile is shifting towards, I believe, an average of 3 days in advance. they said, well, why don't we use this for distressed inventory and sell sort of last-minute hotels, the hotel tonight thing. And the Navy, which used to be a pirate less than 3 years ago, actually reacted quite fast. And they said, well, this is really a sort of a threat to our business. And they launched Booking.com tonight, I believe, within a 1 month period. And this is actually a nice combination of looking at the current distribution, innovating, looking at a growth trend that we have shortening booking windows, but still focused on distribution. But even within the distribution, looking at mobile trends, there are ways to innovate and to become part. But looking beyond distribution, it's really important to understand the real power of mobile. And that really sinks in if you think about the fact that the only way to interact with your customer while he's not at your presence, meaning within your hotel premise, but while he is traveling, is his mobile device. So the only way you can interact with that single person is his mobile device. So that actually is the power of mobile versus the other channels. So if you look at the power of mobile within your digital strategy, this is probably where your focus should be. So what we're thinking about, on the next slide please, Jean, is to shift your customer from, say, the saving mode, which is the red part of the travel cycle. And this is just one depiction of a travel cycle. There are many of them. But if you start with the search on the right top, and you move towards booking, this is the mode where all of the customers are trying to save a buck. They switch hotel for €1, and then they start booking, and they start traveling, and then they go into spending mode. So what happens in the spending mode? They're actually on a mobile phone. So as of the distribution, you're just shifting distribution power in the saving part, but the real opportunity is to move and to travel along with the customer into spending mode and to see what kind of, say, a share of wallet you can grab in there. Next slide, please. So within that space, we have seen some pirates. Like Tripit used to be a real big pirate, also joined the Navy, being acquired by Concur, but they actually understood really good that there's a huge value in traveling with customers by creating great itinerary stuff. And the other one that's out there right now, which is, if you are building mobile apps, you should really look at the Gogglebot app for, there's a sort of a local inspiration kind of thing to it. But this is actually, these are the new stuff, the new kids on the block that will be innovating in the traveling space, and to find out if they can grab a piece of the money on the spending mode of the traveler. And this is where you could also have a look at as a hotel, for instance, to see if you can increase the amount of spending of the travelers. So looking at the next slide, you're able to do so yourself. So you have to think on what your itinerary as a hotel would look like. Meaning, so if I have booked, just send me a text message that says, well, dear Mr. Van Velzen, we welcome you tomorrow in our hotel. Please click this link for your personal itinerary. It will show you the weather on location. It will show me the route to my hotel, that kind of stuff. And this should all, obviously be branded in your own hotel environment. And this is how you can guide and service your customer to your hotel, engage with him, and then try to service him. And after you've serviced him very well, then obviously try to upsell him different stuff. Next slide, please, Chief. So think of every stage in the travel cycle and see if there's an engagement opportunity for you as a venue or for you as an organization to engage with your customer. And then take the personal information, which in most of the cases will be the booking information itself, and then hopefully some booking history of that customer, of some personal details, and then contextualize, meaning understand in what part of the travel cycle the customer is. have a good look at the location he is, what flight he is using to get to your hotel, transfer opportunities to get to your hotel, and at the hotel try to see if you can get him into an upgrade or sort of, raise some expectations that he is available for an upgrade, and, engage with him. And make that really personal and really make sure that you understand what the customer is going through. And on the next slide, use that for the traveler travel cycle, meaning there's a new travel cycle that is really focused on mobile, and that is the traveler is traveling. And at every stage the traveler is traveling, there is an opportunity. Either it's a service opportunity, it's an information opportunity, or it's a transaction opportunity. And every player in the travel industry can tap into that opportunity, and it will all be engaged or started through mobile. And it's about every stage, but it's not about only mobile in terms of a mobile phone, but it's also about thinking about the devices your customer bring to your venues. And the staggering amount of iPads that's being sold, the Mary Meeker figures give 27% of US households now own a tablet. In the Netherlands, it's 29% penetrations of households. So this tablet thing, they're actually taking it along, and there's this term that's being popped, it's bring your own device. Now, I carry it with me while I'm traveling, and I have my own movie inventory, my own series. So it's also really interesting to see what you can do with that device and what you can bring to the devices your customer are bringing into your hotel, and how you could service and transact with your customers on their own devices, which also creates beautiful opportunities to either transact or service again. Summarizing, there are a lot of opportunities. Actually, there are so much opportunities you might get staggered. But it should all start with the fact that your customer is traveling, and the device that he has brought to communicate with you is a mobile device. So I really hope that the bottom 17% has at least shifted to the middle part, and that it's now equally important. And for those that thought it was equally important, it has become a top point of their digital strategy. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Okay, thanks very much, Jeroen. Great context setting there for everybody. And yes, you were right. Hotel Tonight was funded to the tune of $23 million yesterday, bringing its total up to around $35 million. So clearly the investment people on Silicon Valley see that there is longevity in that model. We may get around to that in the Q&A. So without further ado, we're going to move on to the third poll there. So Jean, if you'd like to throw up the third poll. What percentage of your online visitors are engaging with you via a mobile device? 0 to 25%, 25 to 50, 50 to 75%, or 75 to 100%. If you'd like to cast your votes now. Okay, just a few more moments, get a few more of those votes to come in. And I think this will chime in with some of the things that Jeroen was saying. So the results, 0 to 25% is just over 2/3 of you. 25 to 50% is exactly 1/5 of you. 11% between 50 and 75%, and just 1% is in that top bracket. So thank you very much for voting there. And I think we'll move quickly on because we're slightly up against time. So it's my pleasure to introduce Suzie Wotton, who's the Executive Vice President of Marketing at Red Carnation Hotels here in the UK. She's based in London. She's talking from London this afternoon. Suzie, over to you. Let's hear what your thoughts on hotels and mobile.
Thanks, Kev. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Suzie from Red Carnation Hotels. We are currently in the process of launching our new mobile website this summer. So we're definitely not leading the way, but desperately trying to catch up when it comes to mobile. And today I'm going to be covering some of the considerations that us as hotels and colleagues in the industry perhaps need to be making when planning to go mobile. Next slide, Jean. So covering some subjects, so looking at traffic, understanding what percentage of mobile users are visiting our site today, looking at the different devices and understanding which devices are being used by our guests and potential guests. Content, so how we'll manage that content of those mobile device sites aside from our main website. some of the design considerations, have a quick discussion on app versus mobile, or perhaps both, how mobile is impacting the guest experience, so the use of mobile technologies during a guest stay, perhaps in their room, and then a review of the opportunity to actually make money from mobile within the hotel and during the booking experience. So the first step we took was to have a look at what percentage of our customers were looking at our website view through the mobile devices. Industry stats sit around 10% as of May 2012. When we did research through our own analytics, it became apparent that our users represented 16.33% year-to-date of our overall traffic, which also showed a 171% increase year-on-year. So it was quite a significant, perhaps less than the poll, which is quite surprising, but significant all the same, and definitely showing strong year-on-year growth against the sort of natural year-on-year organic increase in our website visitors. We then had a look at the different behavior, so the amount of time that a mobile user was spending on the website, how many pages they were looking at, the type of content they were looking at using an iPhone versus an iPad versus desktop. And there was definitely a difference between the three. Certainly visitor duration using an iPhone was a lot shorter, page viewing was a lot shorter than the desktop users. And again, the iPad sort of sat somewhere in the middle. So at that point, we kind of understood that we couldn't perhaps put the same strategy for iPad as iPhone, and indeed they needed to be handled quite separately. But in industry stats also show a significant growth in iPad users, which you'll see on the next slide, Jean. Massively outperforming in sales, certainly the iPhone, and certainly the little iPod there at the bottom. So iPad definitely was a massive consideration when we were analyzing our data. And it was interesting to see that the Android phone has grown 4 times as fast as the iPhone on the next slide, Jean. So again, we needed to make consideration to different types of smartphones, certainly the implications that has on the design and development process. So looking at analytics, we were able to identify the iPad as certainly the most used mobile application, followed by the iPhone. We certainly understand that mobile is not a new channel. However, it's simply a different device. So we were under the assumption we were likely to see a shift in traffic as opposed to an uplift or the arrival of any new traffic. So when we were looking at the content, again, we needed to look at the different types of phone or mobile device and understand the different browsing experiences. Had to have a think about how we'd manage the content. Is it possible to, for example, create new mobile optimized content using our existing CMS, because we certainly didn't want to have another CMS to have to manage independently of our main site. As we were about to launch our new website into 7 languages, again, how this new mobile version of the website will handle multiple languages, and also how the mobile site will integrate with any external systems that we're using, so our booking engine, our restaurant booking engine, and working with our third-party partners to utilize the mobile developments they've made on their side. Tracking, of course, we want to integrate new mobile platforms into our reporting so that we're able to measure the impact of launching a site. But basically, when looking at what content we need to strip out or what content was important, we had to identify what mobile users were looking at and what were those top pages of interest. And actually, they were definitely different from what we thought they would be. Definitely with a lot of dining elements coming out on top. So afternoon tea, restaurant, and of course location and contact us, which we would have expected. So when designing, we wanted to incorporate a similar design to the launch of the new site. So the customer didn't have necessarily a different design path when using our site. It has to be user-friendly and utilize smartphone technologies where possible, so integrating with native apps such as maps, using scrolling functionality, etc. All had to be taken into consideration, as well as the social media integration with Facebook, Twitter, etc. And providing calls to action throughout, so constantly providing the customer with a click-to-call opportunity or a click-to email. When deciding on whether we would have a web version or a app, we decided that the mobile optimized website was a must, and an app was probably the secondary consideration, and had to consider whether it was worth the investment and whether our guests really have a reason to regularly check our website enough to have an app. Definitely for the bigger companies, Hilton, Marriott, etc., I think where there's a strong loyalty program, an opportunity or a reason to go back to the site, is perhaps more of a case for having an app, whereas we started to look at how else we may use an app for our guests when they're in the hotel. So looking at more of an in-room concierge, replacing the old-fashioned guest compendium, if you like, so offering room service and any information on the local area, etc., on a mobile app. So in addition to the in-room iPad app, there are many other considerations or opportunities for us to enhance the guest experience. So moving forward, mobile will become the currency, so able to make transactions directly from your phone, so no need to sort of check in and check out to make payments. The use of mobile as a room key, definitely that's been talked about a lot in the industry, and I think it's over the next year or so is going to start to become part of the guest experience. Room phones will start to disappear, which I'm very pleased about because they tend to be the ugliest thing in the bedrooms. So as long as we can have an emergency contact solution for the guests to be able to contact reception in emergency, I do think the room telephones will disappear. A virtual concierge, so kind of picking up on the in-room app that I discussed before, and the preference for in-room entertainment. So talking about bring your own device, I think this is exactly what our customers are doing more and more. They're looking for more bandwidth so they can stream their videos, and looking less for pricey in-room movies. And moving forward, having and using your mobile device to control your thermostat, light switches, aircon, etc. We're definitely not there yet, but certainly something quite exciting to think about. So of course, with every investment, there's a question of, well, what money is this going to bring me, or what revenue increases are we going to see? It's been widely reported that the average revenue per user is perhaps low on a mobile, likely to be because you're spending less time there, or perhaps wanting to make a quicker decision rather than a longer booking experience. 44% of apps are free, so should we create this in-room app or an app for our customers, then we probably cannot expect to have guests pay for the app, so there's no real revenue opportunity there. The increase in the amount of third-party mobile iPad booking apps is certainly significant. So we'd already mentioned Hotel Tonight and Booking Tonight. I think there's an opportunity for distribution, but I think there's also a big consideration and drive to improve our own mobile presence so that we're not losing potential guests because our booking experience does not compare to third parties. We would hope that there would be an increased conversion through mobile optimized booking engines. Definitely the booking experience using a non-mobile optimized website is very tricky. We would expect using a mobile optimized version of that booking engine to enhance conversions. And from a marketing perspective, the cost per click for mobile is cheaper, less competitive for key terms, so it's definitely a space we want to exploit before it becomes more crowded. There's definitely potential for revenue through the in-room apps with room service, etc., and being able to promote offers to customers and guests while they're in the hotel. I think it's important, on a side note, that hotels consider the impacts of charging for Wi-Fi, because if we're expecting our customers to use their mobile to write TripAdvisor reviews and to check in on Facebook and Foursquare and utilize mobile websites, then I think hotels who are still charging for Wi-Fi really do need to rethink that strategy. And I think the question for us is not how much money will we necessarily make by launching these mobile sites, but perhaps more rather how much do we stand to lose by not doing so. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Susie. Great examples there of how you've tackled some of the issues around hotels and mobile, and whether you're developing apps, mobile web, and where you're concentrating your efforts. So thank you very much. We're going to whisk straight through to the final poll question before we get to the final presentation. So, how developed is your mobile strategy? First one: mobile-enabled website and handset application or app. Just a mobile-enabled website only. Handset application only or app. We're planning to add a mobile strategy at some point, so please select one of those. And the results are coming in, so just give that a few more moments. Very interesting, actually. I'll be very pleased to show you these results now. So, I think that's the tightest we've ever had for any of the polls that we've run on these webinars. So 30% of you have got a mobile-enabled website and an app. Just 2% more, 32% have a mobile-enabled website. App only, 8%. And almost a third of you are planning to add a mobile strategy at some point. So, Jeroen, hope you're watching that. So thank you very much, everybody, for voting. And we'll now move directly to Josiah's presentation. We may go just a couple of minutes over because we've got some great questions that have come in which we would really like to throw at our panel. So apologies, we may go a couple of minutes over. But Josiah's going to give us his 10 minutes now when they get straight to the Q&A. Good morning, Josiah in New York. How are you? And the floor is yours.
Doing well, Kevin. Thanks so much. And well done, Susie and Jeroen. It was interesting to hear about not only the research, but the tactical and practical applications of how you're implementing a mobile strategy. I'm going to keep my presentation very short and focused. I just want to leave you with a couple high-level concepts to consider as you're planning and rolling out your mobile strategy. If we can go to the next slide, I think from day one, the success in the hotel business has depended on guest satisfaction, right? It's about how did we deliver better experiences to our customers so that they come back, they tell their friends, and in today's social environment, they tell all of the connections and the audience that they have on their social network, right? So the opportunity that we have here in mobile is that it gives us many more touch points and many more opportunities to serve our guests, and that's where I see a lot of parallels between the work that we do at ReviewPro and social media and reputation management, and the topic that we're discussing today is that we have more opportunities here, and that's what technology gives us. If we can go to the next slide, Jean, I see the big opportunity here is selling through service, and regardless of the approach that you take or the platform you decide to use in delivering that service, I spent the last 2 days here in New York at the NYU Hospitality Investment Conference, and over again, CEOs of the biggest hotel companies in the world reiterated the importance of service and providing great experiences for driving revenue growth and profitability. So in their experience and in their companies, they're seeing this direct financial connection between service and sales and service and revenue. It's not just a touchy-feely, feel-good new wave of technology here, but this is affecting the core of hospitality. And again, mobile technology gives us this unparalleled opportunity to deliver helpful content in the context of where that person is and what their needs are, and as Jeroen mentioned, traveling with them as they're going through that process and providing information. If we go to the next slide, I'm not going to get into the whole debate of mobile applications versus mobile websites. I think the common theme that we see with the most successful presences from hotels on the mobile web is that they're designed around service and being more helpful to their customers. There's many fantastic applications out there. We took a look at some of the stuff that Suzie's building. The Ritz-Carlton app, for example, goes beyond just basic hotel search, and it helps deliver that Ritz-Carlton experience before people arrive on property or where they're not actually in a Ritz-Carlton. And so, of course, there's booking and local information, but there's a lot of different things that they've built into the application to deliver a better experience. They have tips from company president Herv Hummler, who took some of the tips of what he liked about each of their properties. They included that in the application. There's some concierge tips. There's QR codes built in that allow the Ritz-Carlton team to deliver experience tours on property, like a cultural art tour or a digital scavenger hunt in the city. So it's helping them become more engaged in their trip and extending that presence outside the walls of their hotel. And this isn't an approach that is limited just to applications. You see mobile websites like the Lowe's Hotel website that came out recently. Hebs Digital built it, and I think it's a fantastic example of simplicity and usability, because your mobile website doesn't have to do everything. It's just thinking, what information do I have to give the customer, allowing them to book, allowing them to find a property that we have in our area, and then also some information, some local information. So there's many examples. You can see the Choice Hotels iPad app, thinking about leveraging the form factor of the devices and the different platforms that you're participating in. Suzie touched on that, and Jeroen mentioned that. So if we move on to the next slide here, we've seen more and more companies considering creating standalone applications to sell through education. IHG experimented last year with a recipes app for the iPad, and just another one that caught my attention this week is one created by Hipstamatic. It's a mobile photography application, and they've launched this free monthly cultural lifestyle magazine that features photography from their user base, along with some education on how to create great photos. So, obviously this is outside hospitality specifically, but I think the interesting thing here is that by educating their customer base, they have this opportunity to increase brand visibility and sell upgrades for their application here. So think about, how could you do something similar? We've seen something like this from organizations like citizen-M and Four Seasons. Many hotel companies have a magazine already in place, but how could you extend this experience to a mobile platform and have that become an effective digital marketing tool? Okay. Another part of creating helpful mobile experiences is really understanding where customers are likely to buy. And I love some of the points that Jeroen made earlier on in this presentation, is thinking about when do people switch from that saving to the buying mode. And I've heard some research recently that customers or travelers are looking to save money when they're booking, but they're willing to spend money when they're on property. So think about how to deliver that mobile experience. Suzie talked a little bit about this as well. Another of the hotels that we work with, Hotel Bel Air in California, introduced an iPad app where people could order room service. They thought only 50% of people maybe would engage with this, but currently 75% of people are placing their room service orders via their iPad. So think about, how can you deliver opportunities for people to spend more on property, and how do we make that simpler? Okay. Of course, a big topic is the convergence of mobile and social. It's not really breaking news. We've been hearing about it at conferences and articles. But the reality is that the convergence of these two opportunities that used to be separate is really one of the hottest opportunities in hotel marketing today. So really take advantage of it to increase buzz and the conversations around your brand. The reality is that people using social networks on their mobile device tend to be more active and engaged. So this could be an opportunity to reach out to those influencers. Flurry research indicated that social networking is now the #1 activity on mobile applications. It's past gaming. You can see ComScore research here. Americans that use Facebook on both a mobile device and on the website are actually using the Facebook mobile app more often. So think about this, and what does this mean for you? If we go to the next slide, I think one of the biggest opportunities, or one of the biggest challenges in marketing is sourcing content. So when we think about what does mobile give our social marketing campaign, I think it really gives this opportunity to bridge the online to offline gap. So as people are going on their travel experiences, they're staying in your hotel, so they're going out into their city, encourage them to be creating content on the go here. On the left side, there's a sign that I saw in Bryant Park in New York, encouraging people to post a pic of this offline fun online, right? So encourage them through signs or just by asking them to share that information. Make it easy. On the right hand, we have a QR code, asking people to like their Facebook page. So whether it's through QR codes, if it's just a traditional sign, try to get some of that offline experience shared, whether it's through a photo, whether it's through a Foursquare check-in, whether it's through a tweet that sort of acts like a mini review. Okay, let's go to the next slide. I think a big opportunity here is to take advantage of location-based services, which seem to be one of the best examples of the convergence between mobile and social. When people are checking in on a site like Foursquare, it's acting as an indirect endorsement of that place, whether it's a restaurant or a hotel. I'm saying, this is the place that I chose to be at this time. So take advantage of networks like this that already have an existing user base and also can act as a catalyst to creating more content, whether it's through Facebook or Twitter. Many times people checking in on these services, I know I do, cross-post via multiple platforms. Okay, if we go to the next slide. And again, it's a fantastic branding opportunity. I've seen Ritz-Carlton, many other hotel groups do interesting stuff here where they're taking all that knowledge that their concierge team has or content that perhaps has existed on their website or elsewhere on their blog, but think about how to readapt and reuse it onto a network like Foursquare so that you have visibility there and your experience extends beyond the walls of your hotel. Okay, go to the next slide. And so just as sort of a wrap-up to this, I really encourage you to view mobile as a way to connect with your customers whenever, wherever they are, people bringing their devices with them wherever they go. So there's this big opportunity to sell through education by giving people the right information at the right time. But just also keep in mind that mobile isn't just a way to push out information. It's really having huge implications in the way that we create and consume content in social media and elsewhere, and your consumers are leaving 24/7 digital data trails wherever they go. So that whether that's through a photo, a Foursquare check-in, through a tweet, pick up on these conversations, understand what they're saying about you, and also organize that together in one place. We've seen groups like Gansevoort Hotels or Corinthia Hotels capture all this content, consolidate it in a Facebook album or on Pinterest, but pick up on all this information so that you have a better understanding of your customers, reuse it for marketing, and I see that as a huge opportunity here. So that's what I have, and back to you, Kevin.
Okay, thank you very much, Josiah. Brilliant stuff again. So we've had lots of audience questions come in, so we're going to dive straight into those. So all the panel are on open mics now. A couple here that are all around the same kind of theme. And this came from Don Birch and from a fellow called Bob Adams. Thank you very much for your questions. And it relates to this idea of revenue and return on investment. So I just wondered if anyone has any examples where there's been actual pound metrics, dollar metrics, or revenue metrics that they can share with us as how this has actually worked, or and also as apologies, I'm just scrolling up here on the screen because we've got so many questions. And Don asked, cool hotel apps, but who pays for them? What is the revenue model if the hotel has to pay the ROI? So who would like to dive in first there then?
I'd like to get your thoughts, Suzie, on this because I see a big opportunity as really in on-site purchases. And what's been your experience with that?
Well, we haven't launched it yet, so I don't really have any experience with it, but I have high expectations. I certainly think the mobile version of our website, as I've mentioned before, is more about just addressing a shift in device use as opposed to a real revenue opportunity, although by making the booking process perhaps easier with a mobile optimized booking engine, we may see some uplift there. But I definitely agree that I think the sort of on-property opportunities are definitely there in terms of room service, pushing offers for food and beverage, etc., while the guest is engaged with the property and in the hotel. I think there's huge opportunity there. In terms of, I suppose, risk, it's understanding, that in a hotel that room service needs to, the app needs to also talk to the PMS, and the PMS needs to talk to the point of sale, and it's just really making sure that the hotel itself is ready to embrace, as well as the consumer, because there's with the big opportunity for revenue, there's unfortunately always an opportunity of risk in not delivering the service that we are delivering today. So I think it's something not to go rushing into. I think there is opportunity, but I do think there is an element of risk there.
Okay, thanks, Suzie. I mean, this is an interesting kind of take on this as well. This has come from a lady called Maria Hernandez. Thank you, Maria, for your question. And she asks, she's from Easy to Book, also in Holland, so maybe, Jeroen, you can jump in on this one. How would you track the conversion from users who initially search in mobile and then book on a desktop? She says, any recommendations or guesstimations about how to do that?
Well, definitely, if you're looking from an app point of view, that's quite easy. And that's also why we always advise to start with your current customers first. So like Josiah has also said, well, you should look at it from an angle from sales as a service. So start servicing after the sale first, therefore being able to recognize your customer on the different platforms. So personalize the platforms, either by personalizing the application by logging in using either social credentials like Facebook IDs and that kind of stuff, or mobile phone numbers to send SMS confirmations of their bookings, and then personalizing mobile pages using tiny URLs. And therefore you can create a personalized environment, and then it becomes easier to track your customers across channels, because then you know who you're talking to. So the first thing is really, dive into mobile phone numbers, because, we're talking mobile here. So a customer is not as reluctant to give his mobile phone number as he would be on, giving it to some marketing organization, because there's real value in there and being able to text to your customer, because then you're able to distribute either your application or your mobile web page.
I'd like to jump in with a question, if I may. Thanks for that, Jeroen. And this is directed to Josiah and to Suzie. I was intrigued by your point about taking the knowledge and the wisdom and the data inside the concierge's head and turning that into not only an app that's mobile, but also a collection of new business models for the hotel. The previous business model for hotel concierges used to be, I ask you a question, you give me an answer, I give you a tip. And the hotel really never saw any of that. That tip went to the concierge. So what is the new business model, Josiah, that might grow up around some of this local knowledge and local network partnerships with outside dining establishments, entertainment companies, and the like, that used to be the purview of the concierge and now can be the purview of the hotel brand itself in the mobile strategy?
Sure. Well, from the hotel groups that I've been talking with, I think it requires shifting the view of the concierge from being a cost center to a profit center, and maybe that's the concierge team literally, or it's the concept of a concierge where you have this knowledge about the area, connections, the advice of what to do where, and this is especially when it comes to social media and expanding a digital channel, whether it's through mobile or somewhere else. This is really key, because this is where you can leverage that existing knowledge and then increase visibility for search marketing or on the social web, wherever it is. There's probably opportunity to create a directly monetized version of that, whether it's packaging it up and selling some of that information. But I see the biggest opportunity as more branding and more building a vibrant online community through service, and then that online community is more likely to come back. They'll tell their friends and spread the word for you. So it's community building and a little bit of indirect monetization. Okay,
thanks there, Josiah, and thanks also to Ganesh who asked almost an identical question as well. So I hope, Ganesh, that answers yours as well. So we're going to wrap up in a couple of moments. So just a couple of quick fire questions. So this came from Jamie Pagel, or Pagel, I hope I've got your surname right. She asks, are there any examples of hotel apps that make it easy for a guest to post a review of the hotel while they're on site or indeed checking out? I guess that's one for you, Josiah.
I'm not going to name a specific hotel application. There are a number of vendors providing stuff in this area, but I think the bigger opportunity here is yes, you could investigate having a specific application to post reviews, but also recognizing that a lot of people are going to be tweeting out stuff or checking in on Foursquare where maybe they don't have the time to write a huge review, but while I'm waiting for my cab, I can tweet something out, and there could be a huge amount of activity and information on the social web as well. But there are providers that are putting together and building some stuff on dedicated reviews.
Okay, thanks, Josiah. And the last question, another one from the ever-present Don Birch. He listens to every webinar. He's so loyal, it's great. So Don asks, I stay in any given hotel or chain maybe once or twice a year. And this is a really important question. How do they realistically engage with me as a customer in journey? There are just frankly too many apps to manage or remember. So I guess, Jeroen, in the general kind of travel context, this is an important question. I mean, people do only use a particular travel product maybe once or twice a year.
Well, I agree. So if you're not so loyal to a chain or a specific hotel, I really like the comment the TripAdvisor guy made, I think a year or two ago, that it only makes sense if you come back as a customer 5 times a year to create an app for that same customer. So if Don is not coming to this hotel 5 times a year, it does make sense to download the app, and it should have a great mobile web experience to cater for the same engagement opportunities. Obviously, you have less opportunities to engage using a mobile web and than an app, because you can't push, you don't have the offline capabilities that you have with the app. So you should move back to text messaging and that kind of stuff. Or it should create, like Suzie said, an in-room or an in-hotel experience, either using the tablet or the phone, that it actually requires you to download the application to open your room or to control the TV or that kind of stuff. And that's probably where we're moving towards. And it doesn't, it's not a bad thing just to download the application, stay in the hotel, and then, just remove the application from your phone. I removed 10 to 20 applications per month. So it's not a bad thing.
Okay, and Suzie, from a hotelier's perspective, anything that you want to quickly add to what Jeroen's saying about, how do you reach people that are seemingly not interacting with you very often through the course of a year?
I think we managed to do it, I guess, before the arrival of the app. So I think traditionally still using social media interactions with our guests, email marketing perhaps less so. We tend to integrate, communicate more generally through our blog these days also. But I think definitely as a rule, if you are a regular guest, so I gave the Hilton as an example, if you have a loyalty program or you are a very regular guest, and I understand that an app is probably a very useful tool, but we're certainly, from our perspective, at this point, decided not to create an app that sort of sits natively on someone's phone, because we're not convinced at this time that there is a need for it. So I think the focus for us is really making the mobile browsing and booking experience easier for our customers, but also bringing in some of those new technology and new opportunities into the hotel guest experience when they're in the hotel with us.
Okay, thank you very much, Suzie. Unfortunately, we have gone 5 or 6 minutes over time, so apologies to those of you that are still with us that we have done so. As I said, the entire recording and the slides will be put on tnews.com within the next 12 to 24 hours. We got through quite a few questions, but we did have some that were still hanging. What I've done is I've made a note of those and who asked them, and I will share those around the panel over the next day or so, and hopefully one of the panel or myself will come back to you personally with an answer to your question. So we try to give, let's call it a value-add service for what we do with our webinars. So it only goes for me to say thank you very much to Josiah Mackenzie, Suzie Wotton, and who's kicking us off, Jeroen van Velzen, for their valuable and wonderful contributions this afternoon, and also to David Roots from ITB for his introduction, and obviously to the ITB Academy for supporting this webinar. So thank you very much, most importantly to all of you listening in. We hope you enjoyed it. There'll be more webinars from Tnews and hopefully ITB Academy coming up over the rest of the year. So thanks to the panel, thanks to the listeners, thanks to ITB Academy, and we will speak to you all soon. Thank you very much.